I don't know if you're going to think I'm crazy for saying this, but I genuinely believe that Lord of the Rings is the most influential book series on the entire planet. Genuinely. I genuinely think there is no book, no memorabilia, nothing in the entirety of the world that is more influential than Lord of the Rings. I know. Crazy to say. It's crazy to say that the most absolute domineering pop culture piece of media is Lord of the Rings. I know it's crazy to say, but hear me out. I have some evidence, and I think you might agree with me by the end of this. First things first, the use of mythology and media today. It's no secret that Lord of the Rings uses a lot of mythology and religious aspects to the story that sort of create a background for the characters and the monsters in the mythos. A great example is Sauron and the Balrogs. The Balrogs and Sauron are these fallen deities from a very high-born race that decide to rebel against their kin and wreak havoc and chaos by joining Morgoth. Well, that's very similar to Satan, fallen angel, rebelling against God, and wreaking havoc upon the world of man. Very similar. Balrogs are quite literally demons. They're these fire creatures. But not only that, J.R.R. Tolkien also employs a lot of mythology and trolls and monsters and dragons in his world. And I genuinely think that because of that use of those topics and those story points and those designs and creatures, they've become a lot more popular in today's media. I think, in my opinion, we have J.R.R. Tolkien to thank for the use of mythology and mythological creatures in media today. I mean, I seriously can't think of a property as old as Lord of the Rings that did that. Genuinely. I honestly think that the Percy Jacksons, the God of Wars, all of those we have to thank for J.R.R. Tolkien. Using all these classical monsters from all these mythologies and putting them in this world of his own making. For example, dwarves, these rock and stone, sturdy little men, armored plates, and this obsession for mining and gold. J.R.R. Tolkien was inspired by Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He took that and turned it into what we know today. That was because of him. Your D&D dwarves, your Warhammer 40k dwarves, your Deep Rock Galactic dwarves, those are because of him. He made that. Your elves, for example, high elves, these fair-born creatures with incredible bow accuracy and these incredible knife skills and physical abilities and long lives, that's him. Elves were always a thing in mythology, and obviously dwarves were too, but he made them his own thing. And as a result, everyone adopted it as that. His version of dwarves and elves is the version. It is. That's what it is for everybody. Trolls, for example. While there's pieces of media that portray trolls in the classic way, I actually think J.R.R. Tolkien did that as well. And while he didn't make trolls any different, and everyone's seeing trolls the way he made them, he still brought them into popularity, in my opinion. It's still him who did that. He brought all these mythological creatures back into the limelight. But again, he does his own thing with a lot of them. I don't know if there's a lot of stories where dragons actually speak, but a key element of Tolkien's dragons was that they spoke. And Calagon the Black with this deep, brooding, monstrous voice, Balrog with its horrible belly laugh, and Smaug with its pompous, black, monstrous voice. I love that. I love that so much, how the dragons speak and have their own personalities. It adds a layer of evil to their deeds. Like, I hate when Game of Thrones or shows like that make dragons to be these normal animals. Like, why? Why? It's a lot more interesting when dragons are a lot more cognizant than just a starving animal. I like when dragons are these speaking, monstrous creatures with intelligence that rivals man, because that way, you don't really feel sympathy for their actions. They chose to raid an entire castle. They chose to hurt, murder, and maim. They chose to steal and hurt. They made these decisions of their own accord as intelligent beings. I like that. I think, and again, as I said with everything else, I genuinely think J.R.R. Tolkien made that happen in pop culture. I genuinely think J.R.R. Tolkien popularized speaking dragons in culture. I genuinely think so. We have so much of fantasy to thank J.R.R. Tolkien for. Seriously, we have so much of it to thank for him. Big giant spiders, Shelob, the spiders in The Hobbit. I don't know if it's mentioned in books before, or if it happened in books that came out before, but all I'm saying is, I think he popularized it. Genuinely, I can't think of another book series or story that did that. Genuinely. We have J.R.R. Tolkien to thank for that. Like, even video games. Baldur's Gate obviously being related to Dungeons & Dragons, so clearly it's affected by Tolkien's work, but Baldur's Gate, Elden Ring, Dark Souls, I'm mentioning it again, I know, I was hoping that that would win for the poll just as much as Lord of the Rings. I'm glad Lord of the Rings won, though. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. Elden Ring is another great example. This huge sprawling world with a main character at the head who is kind of nameless. And that's my final point about J.R.R. Tolkien's stories. And honestly, in my opinion, the last gift that Tolkien gave to writers and people who are very creative that want to make their own projects is one very important storyline. A nobody doing something grand for the greater good of the entire world. That's at the core of Lord of the Rings. And The Hobbit, to be honest. Teeny tiny nobodies from the Shire, defeating Satan himself, you know? That's what the Lord of the Rings is kind of about. These tiny little guys have the entire weight and future of the world on their shoulders. And while they just come from some random town, they save the whole world. And it's inspired so many tales like it. Again, I'll always mention Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and all those sort of Souls games, but in those, you're literally a nobody. You are no one. You're not highborn, you're just some guy. You're not very significant to the storyline, but you become significant to it. You're bestowed with a burden, a duty to gain strength, to become better. And then suddenly you become very crucial to the future of this world. The world rests upon your shoulders. You start off as a nobody, and you become somebody very important to everyone. And again, a lot of things in Elden Ring is very much inspired by those Tolkien things that snuck its way into popular culture. It's incredible to see that stuff. Just to see the Black Knight assassins looking kind of like the Nazgul, or the Knight Riders with their little horses with the hoods, clearly very inspired by the movie designs for the Nazgul. The trolls, and again, thanks to Tolkien, those classical ancient mythological creatures are brought into pop culture, and people are a lot more comfortable and feel free to use those. That's fantastic. And again, like I always say, I think we do have that man to thank for it. I'm doing my best to do the books justice by reading them all. I'm just starting The Fellowship of the Ring, and it's good. I genuinely recommend that anyone who's interested in Tolkien's works should read it. Hands down, full stop, should definitely read it. If you like his work, or if you think that you'd like it, please give it a shot. Even if you don't love fantasy, I recommend it. Starts a little rough because there is a lot of exposition, but it's all helpful, it's not too slow, it's very fun. Another thing I'd like to mention, I'm actually writing a book, and the working title is Lands of Fastergan. And the reason why I'm talking about this right now is because I'm heavily inspired by Lord of the Rings and the Soul series in my writing style and what I write about. I love exposition and world building. I do it way too much. And I really enjoy creating these worlds and monsters and all this mythology around it. So if you'd like to learn more about what I do or how to support me and my partner in our business and what we'd like to do with our platforms, give my links a check, by all means. I'd love to show you a little snippet, a little sneak peek of what I have in store for you all. So here's Sorcerer Callahan, the main character from our book. He's essentially a lazy sorcerer who never took the time to learn too many spells and kind of just learned spells for his own convenience. He's about to go on a massive quest that's going to put him to the test, and he's going to wish he learned some more spells. To wrap up today's recording session, I'll just say this. It's no wonder it took Tolkien about 17 years to write these books. The amount of time and effort he's put in to craft this incredible world clearly shows, because not only has it stayed the test of time, but it's inspired so many people to create stories just like it, create their own versions, create their own mythology and mythos, taking inspiration from real life. And you can do the same too. Don't be afraid to try new projects. Don't be afraid to give it a shot. Don't be afraid to take inspiration from something you love. It doesn't mean you're being a copycat. It just means you're inspired, and that's a good thing. And if you can, support people who like to make things that they're inspired by. In any case, that's all for today. Take care.